All right, so welcome back to the Late Mood Show. Today we are doing not much of an unboxing because it's already been unboxed and I'm pretty sure the box is in the fireplace by now. But we're reviewing this LED fog machine by, what did I say, TCFUNDY or something like that. It's basically a cheap China no-name fog machine for, I think it's like 125 bucks. And you're probably gonna see a ton of brands, but ultimately it's the same thing that everyone's just flipping. It comes with a wireless remote and a connection port. This is like the sensor for the remote. The thing I liked about it though is it has DMX on it. So if you have like a lighting DMX controller where you can control your studio lights, you can actually plug this into your DMX controller and control your fog machine. This fog machine also has LED lights that shoot up on it. And that was a big reason why I wanted it. You see a lot of the popular DJs nowadays, they have these on stage. Obviously, theirs are probably $5,000 or $10,000 for their fog machines. They're probably not these cheap $100 ones, but they do the job and they work pretty good. So we'll go ahead and turn it on. We don't have any fog in the room yet. This room is probably about 700 square feet and it's a 9-foot ceiling. I got a time-lapse camera, so once we turn it on, we'll kind of see how long it takes for the fog to adequately hit the room, and then also how long it takes for it to dissipate. Now, spoiler alert, I do have swamp juice for the fog, but I'm actually not using swamp juice. I'm using my own concoction, homemade fog juice. Another video about that. If you want to see that, go ahead and click that up there. But for today, we're just talking about the machine, and the fog juice works pretty darn good. So you turn it on, and it's going to take a while for it to warm up. It says up on the little LED screen right here, letting you know it is indeed warming up. And we'll just leave it like that so you can kind of see the lighting. And we're gonna dim the studio lights to make it easier for you to see the fog machine in action. So the remote control, it's kind of like a detective, like a bomber or something, kind of creepy. I'm not sure why you need the antenna thing, but if you want to go 10,000 miles away, you just have to raise your little wire, and then now you have amazing. Just kidding, I don't know. You probably get the same amount of signal over this as that, but if not, they gave it to you. It's got a little cover so you can actually cover up the button so you don't accidentally push the fog button when you don't want to. And this is if you don't have a DMX board. So you can use this without a DMX board. You can also walk up and push buttons if you lose your remote. But we have the remote, so a little keychain thing. You can put it on your lanyard if you're doing that number. This isn't really set up to auto sync with your music or anything like that. You gotta do the old manual button, unless of course you got a DMX control board, which I don't have. So feel free to send me one if you want to give me one for free. Now, with the lights up here, they're pretty bright. I don't remember the numbers. I'll throw it up on the screen right here. But you have green, pretty bright. For being like a $150 fog machine, that's pretty bright. You got blue, you got red, and then that's blue and red mix, so it's kind of purpley. So you can actually change like the sensitivity of it and go through a whole array of colors. I think that was yellow. Yellow seems like the hardest for me to always find, but I kind of like the blue just because it's cool, but I'm starting to see spots. So it's a pretty bright light, but you don't really see it right now. There's no fog in the room. I'm going to grab a mic real quick and shove it up to it so you can hear how loud the machine actually is when it's warming up. You can see the mic that's picking it up, and I'll be real quiet so you can actually hear the fan. It is kind of loud, but typically if you're using this fog machine, it's typically for a DJ event or something like that, or maybe a haunted house, where you're going to have so many other noises going on in the room, you're not going to really notice it. But if you're doing this for a theatrical effect, it might be a little bit quieter and you might want to consider the noise issue. I'm not sure the better alternative. Maybe the more expensive fog machines that I've never used aren't as loud as this, but it's more like a white. I want to switch it to more of a blue. There we go, there's my blue. Now, I also have a light up here, and it's not to really dramatize this light, but it's, let me get a tape measure real quick. I wanted to show how far so the fog is going to shoot straight up. That's one of the reasons I like it. Some of the cheaper fog machines, it's going to shoot out to the side. If you're using like, so that's why you got the cover plate, so you don't accidentally smoke yourself out. So this is just glycerin and water, so it's not totally terrible, and it's not oil-based, it's water-based. So it's not going to make your walls all greasy and everything, but it's probably not good to inhale and be standing right over it when it does that. But with that, I lost my train of thought, so I'll just go on another rabbit trail. So it does do random spits every once in a while. I don't know if it's testing it to make sure it's hot enough or cooling it off because it gets too hot. But a little teaser, or a little spoiler alert, you got to see what it looks like. So with that light shooting up, it's going to catch this fog. But even right now, the room's not very foggy yet. I have the door closed so it doesn't set out the smoke detectors, and the other smoke detector, I had to unplug it. This will set off your smoke detectors. But you can see how quickly it's already dissipating and going throughout the room. Like even on this studio light over here, you can kind of see the fog. So it separates pretty quickly. That's more a reflection on your fog juice than the fogger. But still, now you can see why I have this up here. You might be able to see the pink glow, might not because it's not thick enough yet. As it gets thicker, it'll be easier. I just wanted you to see how far up this blue goes. And then you'll see when it switches to pink, you can see how high it is. And the pink is about 6 feet off the ground. So that's pretty much what you're dealing with. As the room gets more foggy, this blue light will be much more intense. I paid $129.99 for mine. It's supposed to give you 1,800 cubic feet, or 18,000 cubic feet per minute. It seems like a lot. I don't know if they're exaggerating that. It's 1,500 watts, it's 60 hertz, and it runs off 110 volts. So a normal power outlet, you don't need an upgrade one to do that. You have several colors. You have red, green, blue, pink. You can also not have the light. So if the lights are on in the room, it'll just be white fog. It'll look like a normal foggy day if you're looking for a special effect on a movie. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes to warm up. And then there are really hot parts inside the fog machine. That's obviously how it makes the fog. It's almost like a humidifier. Not exactly the same, but same concept where it's a really hot piece inside, the liquid falls on it and it turns into steam. So when you're refilling this, it should be off when you refill it. And then also I've seen people where they have like a tube that they can retrofit to have it go into the tank and then have a bigger tank out here so you can keep this full. That gets a little more complicated. If you have this tank topped off before you turn it on and start your show, chances are it's going to last the entire show. It doesn't take much fog juice to actually make this happen. So now we're going to smoke it out and let you see the room. Now I'm going to shut off some of the other lights. I'll pull this one a little further back so you can really see just the blue, and I'll kill the stage light. So with a 9-foot ceiling, it still is showing the blue light a little bit on the ceiling. I'll shut so that's holding the button down the entire time. It auto shut off. I'm still holding the button. You can see the light is lit. So it does have a point where the metal gets too cold and then it's just got to shut off so it can get hot again. So it's going to auto shut off for you. You don't have to worry about it. So that's quite a bit of fog for just one pump. So now, right now, I'm not pushing the button. It's not lit up. Basically, the fog machine is in constant go mode right now. So it's just going to keep pumping every time it gets hot enough until I hit the fog button again to shut it off. With it running, if you can have the fog machine off and just have the light, or you can have it like this, where it's just going to constantly keep pumping out every time it gets hot enough. So depending on your setup and if you have a DMX board or not, you could just leave it in the on position. If you're like doing a school dance or something, you probably just want to leave it in the on position. It'll randomly spit out every once in a while. And then if you have a downtime with your songs or something, bam, change your colors. And then that's pretty cool how dramatic the color difference is. It doesn't have a very wide spread with the light. It's pretty much straight up. But you can see the light is clearly hitting the ceiling. But as far as seeing the beam, it doesn't get very high. You start losing it about here. But it's still a pretty darn cool effect, especially for a $50 machine. And then over here, we're about 5–10 feet away. You can see just how foggy this is. So it's making the room pretty foggy pretty quick. Okay, I'm gonna shut the fog off for a second, and you see down here the fog is off. And then when I turn the fog on, maybe I need my little antenna. It's showing you that it's going. And then I just shut the fog off. So there's a little communication there. Obviously, I'd never look at that, so I don't know what all the meanings mean. But you push the button and you see it change and it says something else. We're just gonna let the room sit for a while, and it's really thick here, but it doesn't take long for it to balance out in the room. So once it's done shooting and you're not shooting anymore, give it about 60 seconds, maybe 120 seconds. But eventually you want it to look like this, where it's not like concentrated fog in one area. And even right now, it's already starting to dissipate. You can see these waves down here. That's what I'm talking about. Once it's sat in the room for a while, you won't see those waves as much, and it'll just be like a fog, like you're walking through a cloud or something. That's what you're looking for. That looks really cool. So we're gonna shut the light off here, and I'm gonna jump into another video and show a disco ball kit that you can get for less than 50 bucks. The link is here if you wanna go check that out, but we're gonna go turn that on to see what it looks like with the fog machine on. But we'll go through this one last time with the colors, just to let you see. There's green, purple, blue. And then as the room gets more foggy, you can see it's starting to splash it a little bit around the room, but it's still mostly concentrated at the beam, but it is spreading out a little bit. I think it's a great fog machine for like 150 bucks. Okay. Oh, hey, it's future me. I'm back. So the time lapse actually died. I did have a battery backup charger on it, but for some reason it wasn't charging the onboard battery. It's an old GoPro anyways. So this is 1 hour and 30 minutes of filming with this time lapse. And so you can kind of see as you watch this, it dissipates a little bit within that hour, but it's still bright enough to show the beams. And I went back like 4 hours later and it was still dissipating, but you could still see the beams of light going through the fog. And no joke, the next morning, it was not enough to make a light beam, but it was still a hint of fog in the room. That is with the doors closed, and then also the ventilation system in this room, it only blows fresh air in. It doesn't suck old air out. So that's something to think about. But clearly for like an evening party, it's going to hold the fog for quite some time. I was quite impressed with it. Quite for real impressed. Good stuff. So browse around and see how it dissipates within a little bit of an hour. I hope this helped you out in deciding if you want a fog machine or not, or this particular one, or you just had fun hanging out with me. And I hope to see you in another video. Let me know what you're thinking about in life. Bye.